Welcome to Champion Your Culture, the podcast, a weekly live show where we explore the power of culture and leadership in business. I'm Ryan McCarty.
And I'm George Rogers, and we go live every week to learn from each other and hear from other experts about how to effectively champion our team members and ourselves. So join us live every Wednesday on our social networks or subscribe. You can listen to Apple, Spotify, and Google Podcasts. Now, let's champion your culture.
Yo, what's up?
Yo, that was so much.
That's more energy. Last week I was
some sleep.
Well, it was more about wanting to be more professional last week. This week I'm like, I don't know. I feel like I just want to have a lot of fun.
All right.
Yeah. So that's this week. I don't know.
Welcome everybody to Champion Your Culture, the podcast sponsored by the Culture of Good. We appreciate everybody joining us as always. I am glad you're here with us. I'm excited because Ryan's here and he wants to have fun. And so hopefully as you're joining us today,
we don't know.
You're going to want to have a little fun. If you're not in the mood this week, we hope that we can help change your mind, give you a little bit of energy, great vibe today. It's been a good week so far for me. How's your week been?
This week's been good. This week's been really good. You know, just getting into some new stuff in work and business and just finding kind of a footing as we're going into fourth quarter. You know what I'm saying? Personally, just a relaxing week and a week that feels very fulfilling, man.
That's awesome. I feel 1 year older. Yesterday was my birthday.
Oh yeah. Happy birthday,
I got to
George.
Celebrate my birthday speaking at North Dakota SHRM. So shout out to everybody at North Dakota SHRM.
Yes.
And the team out there, Jason and the rest of the team for having me. It's been a great experience. Got to go on a riverboat. That was kind of fun and different.
Yeah.
And experience Bismarck, North Dakota. I didn't know.
It wasn't like a submarine boat.
It was kind of boat that I typically wouldn't even get on. It was kind of a double-decker type deal.
Yeah.
But I'm here on solid ground.
Oh, there you
and I survived.
Glad you made
Dakota.
it, man. Glad you made it. Yeah. Believe me, yo.
Almost.
Yeah. Not everybody that goes to North Dakota comes out of North Dakota.
Yeah. Is that the rule?
Well, I don't know.
I did some research and I was nervous, but people love people there too.
It's kind of like Vegas. What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas.
What happens?
North Dakota is like whoever goes to North Dakota stays in North Dakota. Yeah, not because of choice. I'll say that. It's definitely not like the vacation mecca of the world. Like where are you going on vacation this year? We thought about Paris. We thought about hitting Greece. I thought like going to Greece would be a great vacation. But when we heard about North Dakota.
Yeah,
that's when we decided to go on vacation.
What are some other states that are similar like that, right? Because for me, like going to North Dakota was actually it was a bucket list because my goal before I turn 50 is to go to every state.
Okay.
Right. Yeah. So I'm like 39 or 40.
Yeah.
I haven't been to Maine. I haven't been to Massachusetts. I want to go to Boston.
Yeah.
Your daughter's going to be there. So there's going to give me an incentive to travel with you when you go to see her.
Yeah.
And then North Dakota, South Dakota, over there. I'm very excited about going to Montana. I want to go to Montana, Oregon,
Montana's
that area. I heard it was very beautiful.
Oh, man.
Over there.
Yeah. Oregon. Jeez. Yeah. And you love hiking and mountains. Oh, man. I mean,
mountains part. I don't know if I really love
the hiking. Yeah. Drive up to the
things you got to do to enjoy the places you really want to enjoy. You got to do some hard work for that. And so
the state bird of North Dakota is, do you know what it is?
I do not.
It is the Western meadowlark. I have no idea what I'm
meadowlark.
That. Yeah. Meadowlark lemon. He was on the he was a basketball player on what you call it.
I'm trying to figure out if this is a real story, ladies.
No, it's a real story. I have ADHD, man. So I hear meadowlark. I'm like, okay, what meadowlark do I know?
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Awesome. That's cool.
Yeah. Anyway, in the state flower is a wild prairie rose. So there you go.
Things you didn't know.
Things I was just looking up here. Yeah. It's interesting though. One of the things you need to go on in North Dakota apparently is the Enchanted Highway.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So
I'm gonna have to maybe revisit. See if I'm welcome back.
Welcome back to North Dakota.
Welcome back to North Dakota. Dakota 2.0.
Yeah. The thing that is unique about North Dakota, for those that don't know, it does have a state drink. I guess
Has
that is.
What is that? When I think of state drinks, when I think of Alabama, I think of sweet tea.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
When I think of Florida, I think orange juice.
Yeah.
Georgia, peach.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
North Dakota,
Mm-hmm.
tequila.
Milk.
All right. I was going the opposite end. I was going
drinks.
Yeah, drinks.
Kahlua.
A little Kahlua. There you go. You have a little mudslide.
There you
over
go.
in North Dakota. But no, it's a beautiful town and great people. So
yeah,
I'm
awesome.
glad to have experienced North Dakota,
Yeah.
checking off the states that I've been to.
Yeah.
And maybe one day I can make it back there again. I really enjoy the people there.
People are great everywhere.
People are great where they are accepted, right?
Yeah.
People are great where there's love and appreciation. Like we talk about all these human humanity, human ways to
attributes, right?
Yeah. To show people, like caring for people, truly caring for people. One of the things that really meant a lot to me, and I was invited last week. Jason was like, "Hey, I'm gonna pick you up from the airport. Such and such is going to be there too. I'll pick you both up. Oh, by the way, would you like to go with us on this river?" Like, inviting, like caring people. It could have easily just been like, "All right, Georgia, here,
right.
You're gonna be speaking tomorrow. Good luck and enjoy North Dakota by yourself. For the night." But just being invited and connecting.
I think it's like I think what you're talking about is like you're around people in workplaces that are thoughtful.
Yeah, thoughtful leaders. We talk about that some, man.
Well, I don't know that we've used that. I mean, we've used like intentional leadership and like be a listener, but the idea of being a thoughtful leader, like really thinking through like what's George going to be experiencing while he's here? How can we make his experience even better? These are like leadership questions, right? Like when people are working for us in the workplace, how do we do that? So I get what you're saying. People that are thoughtful make better leaders.
Yeah.
When you think through, and that's a practice of empathy, right? Because empathy doesn't just reside in your heart biologically, like it's up in here, and it's mixed with a lot of other ideas and biases and everything else going on. And so being able to take a moment and be thoughtful. And that's for yourself leadership, for leading others, to pause and give yourself space to think, because we're doing so much, man.
We become doers so often that it's just natural for us just to do, and then react to what we've done if it's not right, versus taking that time just before you do something. Just take.
It's the old idea or adage of measure twice, cut once. You know what I'm saying? You don't want to start cutting and then like just thinking through, like measuring your impact, measuring the experience. We talk about the impact of going out and doing good in community, and we have to be thoughtful of how we're doing those type of things, because we don't want to just go into communities and be like, hey, we're going to come in as a culture good and do this good because, we know there's needs here and blah, blah, blah. But if we don't have a real plan, and that's what I think about thoughtful leadership. Thoughtful leadership is leadership that is thinking through the planning and the impact and the experience of others, not just how do I get this done, but how do I get this done with others well, where when it's done, I haven't lost people. You know what I'm saying? Like when there's a major project or change is happening in a community or within the culture, whatever is going on. I think of companies that we work with that are experiencing a lot of mergers and acquisitions, right? So you have these two different cultures, and like, how is all that going to come? Like thinking through that as a leader and having other thoughtful leaders around you, it seems like brainstorming. You know what I mean? It's like, it's just getting everything on the table to say, how is this going to impact our people? How is this change going to make our employees' lives harder or easier or more engaged, more difficult what challenges are going to come with this? And I think a big topic that we're going to talk about today, and this is a major one, is like this tug-of-war, right? Like in the picture at the beginning is like, there's this tug-of-war on how do we schedule employees' work so that it not only benefits our team members, but also is productive for the organization, right? Because if you don't stay in business, it doesn't matter if everybody in the world loves you. You know, like, hey, everybody loves us. We only, we went to a 1 day of work, 1 day a week work model, and like we can't, business is failing.
Yeah.
So
got to be productive.
But we do know that remote work leads to higher levels of productivity many times. We know that flexible work. So there's all kinds of different models. So I just want to talk about the models today and dive into a little bit, because I know a lot of people are listening, or they're in the middle of staffing, whether they're in HR or whatever it is. The question is who's going to win this tug of war? And every workplace is different. But the models that we're talking about beyond the traditional 9 to 5, you know the song, working 9 to 5.
Why do we go soprano? Why does everybody do that?
Because it's a Sopranos.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know how it's working.
You got to harmonize.
Okay, I'll do. You have a deep voice, but I can sing deeper. So you do like the alto, and I'll do the bass. You ready?
I'm just going straight soprano.
You're going soprano? Okay, I'll figure out one of them. All right, 1, 2, 3. Working 9 to 5.
You sound like you're not having fun.
I'm not. Working 9 to 5.
It's a lot funner to go soprano, right?
Yeah.
That's why we do it.
But we're working 9 to 5 is a traditional model. And now we have all kinds of different models. And there's a lot of organizations that are experimenting and saying, all right, what is going to work for us? And that's the question. It's not what works for everybody.
Right.
And it's not what works for everybody in our business
or industry.
Yeah, it's all over the place. So it's like,
somebody else is doing it.
One team's different than another team. So for instance, we have a call center in our organization and in our company, Round Room, and a lot of them have to be in the office and in the building, right? But we were able then through technology to create secure systems where they could be home. Prior to the pandemic, that wasn't even an option.
Yeah.
It was there was law against it. You know what I'm saying? Like having people with like the company computer at home, because they had access into all your accounts and everybody's Verizon accounts, right? So that's a trickier thing. So technology had to catch up. So as companies are experimenting, we have to also think about, all right, what kind of models are available to us, and which one's going to work based on our technology, based on where our stakeholders are located, right? We think about location, we think about time. So some of the models that are coming up, we have like a compressed work week, right? So we're still, for those that have like a 40 hours to complete, but they do so in like a 3-day kind of compressed experience. And sometimes that works for some models. There's flex time, where we have a certain amount of hours. We know we have to complete 8-10 hours a day or whatever it is, but I get to choose when that's going to be. Right. There's challenges around that. There's hybrid models. There's remote work, right? Yeah. So the hybrid model, you could have several different components of each.
And the challenge with those is that, with the hybrid, it's a little bit more enforced, right? That's the difference between the hybrid and the flex, is that the flex is more of the individuals, giving a little bit more of the power to the individuals and the employees. Yeah. The hybrid is more defined as an enforced by employer, where, hey, this is what we need from you. You're going to be here Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. It's not an option. Those are the days. Monday and Fridays can be a little bit flex. Now, most companies says, no, it's going to be Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday.
Right.
Let's see, maybe Thursday, half and half. And then Friday, you can go home. But a lot of companies and organizations perceive the first of the week as the most important. We need to get together, huddle it up,
huddle.
Get everything
and
rolling.
I agree with that.
And it works. But I agree with it in a sense. Some companies need that. Some employees need that accountability to help push their start.
I'm saying to get things started. I agree with Mondays regardless of what's happening. The thing that I know more and more is there's way too many of the wrong meetings, and there's not many of the right meetings. And one of the meetings,
and what he means by that, ladies and gentlemen, is that there's way too many of the meetings that should be emails.
Right. And the meetings we should be having is like the weekly huddle.
Yeah.
Everybody, let's get on the same page. I remember going into like a Lowe's early in the morning, right before it's about to open or something like that. And all the staff were like huddled around, and the manager was like, don't forget this, and everybody's cheering. And, I want to give it a shout out to so-and-so as like a start, like kickstart, jumpstart your week. I love that, man.
Yeah.
But you got to figure out what's going to work for you. And that hybrid is more enforced, and that there's pros and cons to each of these, right? Like when you think about a flex schedule, one of the biggest cons to a flex schedule, which is where people are kind of choosing their own time, is that somewhat works. But if you have a team, how does everybody work on flex and collaborate together?
Yeah.
Right. So we have to have a pretty high level of trust in each of our team members to collaborate and work together and ensure that even on a flex schedule, that there's times where it is almost hybrid, where we do get together at these times. Like there can be flex, but it can't be so flexible that you're a wet noodle, man.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I know you don't want to like snap and break when there's a change, but to be so flexible, but that there's no structure, so for me, this is just my personal opinion, I think like, okay, if I think of each one of my team members, what's going to work best for each one of them, and how do we create a collaborative environment, regardless whether it's hybrid or remote or flex or whatever it is, where collaboration is still a value of the team. Mm-hmm. There's no way to have a team where everybody's just running off and doing their own thing. So how do we keep that team dynamic and that connection strong, and offer more of this, which every industry is different too. You can't it's kind of funny saying flex schedule, because I can work a flex schedule. I'm salary employee. I choose my own schedule, blah, blah, blah. I mean, a nurse.
Yeah.
Or a doctor. Imagine if your doctor decided
no surgeries this hour.
Not flexible.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I mean, there's some of that,
there's
right? Like doctors choose their own times.
Right.
That's understandable, but not every industry is going to be able to facilitate that. So I think from the very beginning, looking at all these models and saying, what could we possibly do that could help our employees have more flexibility? Is it a hybrid model? Is it, you know what I mean? So flexibility, when we're saying a flex schedule, that's a specific model though. That's a model of saying, if you have 8 hours, you're going to get those 8 hours done. I'm not going to ask you when. So that means like, if you have to drop your kids off at daycare, no big deal. It's a flex schedule. Right. So if you don't get on the computer till 10, it's not going to be a big deal.
We got some data we're going to share. And I want to jump into, because I want to share a couple of strategies that I've learned through some of these challenges. We're working with organizations right now that are going through some of these changes, and you got to be able to communicate these changes very clearly, especially as you're making this change. So if your organization or company is going through some of these changes, I want to share 4 things that I believe work well when we were helping implement some changes with the company. But before that, ladies and gentlemen, I want you to know what does the data say?
What does the data say? What does the data say? What does the data say? Data.
Oh, well, it's always going to be like that, man. So data, according to Mercer study, this is 2020. So I was looking at stats from 2020 on. Because the pandemic changed everything with this.
Right.
94% of 800 employers that were surveyed said that productivity was either same or higher when employees were working remotely. These are employers, not employees. I want to make that clear. A 2020 study by Buffer on remote work found that the biggest benefit workers saw in the opportunity to work remote was the flexible schedule. Because if you think about it, when you're at home, there's realities that require you to show up for kids or whatever else. So within a remote work, the flex schedule actually is the most beneficial from this specific study. Another one, December 2020 PwC survey found that 83% of employers said the shift to remote work had been successful for their company. 74% of companies, according to a Gartner poll, said that plan to permanently shift some employees to, or 74% of companies plan to permanently shift some employees to remote work. So there's a huge, massive kind of exodus toward that, or plan toward that. Stanford's study indicated that 42% of the U.S. labor force was working from home full time as of June 2020. Now that was in 2020. Everybody was from home.
Everybody was there.
So people, but we have to remember, people got into that mode and understanding, I could possibly work from home. So that like planted a seed. A PwC study from January 2021 found that 55% of 1,200 surveyed office workers expected to work from home at least 3 days a week once the pandemic was over. And obviously 73% of workers surveyed wanted a more flexible remote work option. So I think having options available, and then to your point, what's the strategy and communication? Because if 74% of companies are moving in that direction, and then 74% or 73% of workers surveyed said they wanted more of a flexible remote option for work to continue beyond the pandemic. We're hearing things from all across. We're hearing people that are saying, "Oh no, we're forcing everybody to come back in." There's no strategy. There's no plan. There's no clarity. There's no. They
have a why they want them to come back, but they don't know how to attach that why with what they're wanting.
Well, their why. Well, yeah. I mean, a lot of times the why is because we have real estate that we're not filling up. Has nothing to do with the well-being of people. It has to do with the well-being of the real estate.
You mentioned something, and our friend Ben Eubanks. We were chatting about this, and I was talking about how you're going to have this conversation today. And one of the things that came out in our mental health study. So in our mental health study, we asked a few questions about hybrid work and those who are working. And one of the biggest call outs of that was that remote workers were more satisfied with the arrangements. They were satisfied with the arrangements of being able to, work hybrid and working at home. But one of the things that really stuck out with me is that they were also more likely than others to be thinking about quitting their jobs because of stress. So they're satisfied they're able to work at home. The stress of it is this is where things are getting twisted and very confusing. And I will say I can relate. And this is where I can relate. My wife, Amber, she works from home. Works for the state of Tennessee. But quarterly they go in, hybrid work, they go in. You know what happens when it happens? Not that I don't like it, but I have to adjust my schedule. As a parent, I'm used to being in the office, and now I have to realize now I'm father alone. I gotta wake up. My time schedule changes, and
Father Goose
comes out 4 times a year. Oh Lord, freak out. I'm about to lose my stuff. It's my time in the quarter. But in all seriousness, that stress of making sure things that you normally don't have to worry about covering. Maybe some of that's you don't appreciate it until it's gone. You're right.
Sure.
Things you don't have to worry about because mom's taking care of it at home, or the spouse is taking care of it. And even for those parents that are single parents, if they have to go out or going to the workplace, that changes a lot of the cycle routine. Who's going to be home? Am I going to be able to be home to make it home? So when you're talking about changing things, and especially with the hybrid work, and we're about to adjust them and bring everybody back, there's some challenges to that.
Well, I think also you have to consider, here it is, thoughtful leadership, and you're about to get into the strategy things, but we don't think about, okay, so when I'm expecting something of you, I'm actually expecting something of you, but it also, it has an impact and an expectation that goes to Amber. You see what I'm saying? Because of that. So when Amber has an expectation, your wife at work, that expectation is also an expectation for you, which means when she's expected to be over there, you're expected. So that boss doesn't even think about, the domino effect. The domino, the butterfly effect, or whatever. That domino, once you make a decision to be a thoughtful leader, that's why having conversation with the people that are going to be mostly impacted by this.
And that's a rare thing, Ryan, and I love it that we have this culture where we take in that communication from our team, We just don't make a decision that impacts people without people being impacted in that decision, They got to be a part of that decision making. And when companies go to an employer and really introduce or promote these ideas for these different models, they're going to go to, whether it's flex, whether it's hybrid, whether it's, hey, we're coming fully back, whatever it may be, while you're doing those things, when we talk about culture, what your culture is, these type of decisions impact your culture, right? When you make a decision that doesn't involve the people that you're going to be impacting, how do they feel you feel about them, right? When we talk about culture, we say how employees feel, believe, and behave most of the time. When you make a decision about them and you don't involve them, or at least give some type of 5-minute huddle to say, hey, how do you guys feel about this? Like, give them an opportunity to say, you know what?
We've been talking about? Check in, man.
Check in. You got to check in with your people. Got to check in with your people. And so,
dude,
the buy-in that you would do, I'm thinking about, you creating buy-in because, hey, my CEO, my leaders took the time to ask me about something that's going to dramatically change how I've done life the last 2.5, 3 years. Right. We were told that working from home was not a thing until the pandemic happened. Then we realized not only is working at home a thing, but people have strived through those things. Some people have strived through that, right? Organizations have grown 2, 3, 5x.
Like,
we know
work, it's like 90, or it said 94% said that productivity was the same or higher. So it's working.
It's working.
In that sense.
In that sense. There's some other things. And I understand why a lot of companies are coming back. There's a lot of companies that we're working with directly right now that's going through some change management process and some leadership development on how to really go through this change. And one of those biggest reasons is that, hey, we got a new revenue stream. We're about to change a whole different business model up. And this is going to involve boots on the ground for the next 6 months. We may go back to hybrid, but for the next 6 months, we got to get together and do this thing. So there's got to be some communication.
There's got to be a plan. And there has to be clear communication about that plan. I mean, that's just what it is.
Let me name off these 5 strategies, and we can go into it a little bit deeper.
Let's get
Number 1, we just said it, clear communication, right? Communicating the rationale, the benefits of hybrid, flex, work models, whatever the work model, and you've named off a few, right? Communicating those things openly and transparently. It's one thing to be communicating and being transparent, right? It's another thing to be communicating and being transparent and allowing there to be some vulnerability and conversations in why we're doing this and why and what the outcomes could be, what our purpose is behind this, what we believe this is going to do for our company and organization, the impact we believe it's going to make on you, right? If there's going to be change, I want to know how it's going to change me. And one of the first things I'm asking how it's going to change me, 1 is my time. 2 is my money, right? Those are like if I'm going to be away from my family.
What about your shoes, man?
Well, that's the money, right? That's the commission.
Well, there you go.
You know what I'm saying? So being able to clearly explain how this is going to align with the company's goals and how it's also going to support the employees. The employees have been very supportive over this time, right? They received so much support. We talk about mental health. We talk about the well-being piece, right? How does this impact them? What does that include? What are the other benefits to this? So communicating those things.
Going back to the change management process where we answer the question, what's in it for me? You know what I'm saying? I mean, you think about it, it's like, okay, to your point, they were very great, employees were gracious, showing up, doing the remote thing. Prior to the pandemic, we're told that's not even a possibility. So they know that they were just just not willing to move in that direction. Now that we've gotten a taste of the ability to have that, to your point. I mean, it's a shift now. It's a shift where it's almost expected that companies are going to at least have some form of plan that doesn't look like a typical 9 to 5.
And I don't want to go too far down this road, but you got to think also, since the pandemic, a lot of people have been working hybrid or just flex. They're at home. They're staying at home the last 2 or 3 years. You know what's happened with a lot of those people?
What's that?
They moved.
Or they went down to one car. Qatar and I went down to one car. You know what I'm saying? I mean, there's a lot of challenges that's going to happen.
Daycare system has changed for a lot of families. There's a lot of things. So this is the reason why you need to create a forum. And this is the thing that we always say, when you make a change, create an opportunity and a platform where your employees can truly be heard without repercussions. They need to be brutally honest about the struggles that your change now is going to have for them. Right. And so where they've said, you know what, I'm willing to work from home, but I'm willing to take less because I'm working from home. Why are they taking less? They don't have to drive down on a car. They don't have car bills. They don't have a lot of gas that they're running on. Right. A lot of those things, daycares change. Now that I'm able to work from home, I don't have to have my kid doing after school because I get off at 4:00. They get out of school at 3:00.
Exactly.
There's a 45-minute drive, in traffic. So I gotta add an extra 30 just to be
all of
safe.
that new rhythm is brought in, and then they show up to work on Tuesday, and some boss read a book about how hybrid's going to be a thing of the past, and how people need to come together, and we need to have physical touch and be able to give each other high fives and look each other in the eyes. And I agree with all that, but the reality is some of these employees are showing up on Tuesday morning, their entire like their whole life's about to be upended.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So
it's like, I'll just go back to how it was. We can't go back. There's no going back. It's over. Yeah.
And so communication is number one. Number two is pilot programs. I always encourage people, don't just force a change. Let's see how this works.
Yeah. Do some A/B testing. Try
So consider implementing some of the pilot programs or phases to approach this gradually, right? Introducing some new work models that allows both the company and the employees to really adjust and access new ways of working. And the opportunity that also provides. And then you can again communicate, go back to number one, get more feedback. Hey, is this working? How do we improve this? Is the business hours flexible? Is that something we can flex? We want you here, but doesn't can we mess around with the hours here to where we can do some of this? That doesn't make sense to have all day work, or maybe, hey, we're going to begin the day together. Yeah. After lunch, everybody can go home. Right. That flexibility, because again, we're talking about families, we're talking about cars, that kind of comes in these conversations. And you want to help build that improvement, but also communication.
Did you see where Zoom just required all their employees back to the office?
Yeah. Yep. Let's make billions of dollars.
I mean, it's Zoom though.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
So what you saying?
I'm saying, well, I know Zoom is just a tool. It's just ironic that Zoom can't run their business on Zoom.
Yeah. Maybe they use Teams.
Yeah, exactly. Imagine that.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Zoom doesn't use Zoom. I don't want to do Zoom,
and a boom, boom.
You see, I stopped because I realized the song, and
you don't shake your rump.
Check, baby.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Ladies and gentlemen, there you go. Number 3, as you're making these changes, communicate, right? Phase out with some pilot programs. Number 3 is establish some clear policies.
Yeah.
This has got to be a part of the policies. Once you understand what you're going to do, develop clear policies and guidelines outlining expectations, right? Mm-hmm. I call them guardrails. Some people say parameters and procedures for remote workers.
Yeah.
What's the expectations like?
Yeah.
Because if you're going to expect something, you got to be able to inspect it. Right. I always say inspect what you expect.
Yeah.
When it comes to changes, when it comes to leading people, you got to inspect what you expect, because if you're expecting something and you're not getting it, you got to inspect it.
Yeah.
Why is it? Yeah. And the first rule of leadership for myself is that if Ryan is doing something that I don't think he should be doing, have I showed him the way that I expect him to do it?
That's great, man.
Right. I need to communicate what I'm expecting here, because if we're saying, hey, hybrid work, we're coming back into work Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, but you didn't say what times.
Yeah.
George is showing up about 10 o'clock.
Yeah.
Right. George is going to watch Dexter get on the bus at 8:37. George is going to ride over. He may stop at a coffee shop.
Right.
But if you say, hey, hybrid work Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, George, you got to be in the office at said time. Let's talk about that. What does that mean? If you want me to be here at 8 o'clock, that means it's something that I've become accustomed to in a routine that I got with my kid, where he loves to see his daddy on the bus stop with him, is now changed.
Yeah.
I'm okay with that, but you got to talk to Dexter.
Right.
Right. Or we're going to have some communication here and be flexible on those things, because there's something that my kid is expected.
Yeah.
And it's valuable to me.
It's good, man.
Right. And so when you're talking about these changes, a lot of things happen. And I'm interested in the audience, as you're listening to some of these things, what are some changes that you have seen? If your work has gone back to, hybrid, remote, flex, whatever it may be, whatever model you're on, what are some of the, the challenges that you faced, or maybe some of your employees, if you're in the HR field, your HR director, manager, what are some of the challenges that your team members are facing with some of this remote work? I'm interested in hearing, because I think it's all different. A lot of people have different, reasons why it's a struggle.
Yeah.
Some people say, man, it was a big struggle, but we communicated, and man, it's been one of the best things we've ever done.
Yeah. Oh,
But
of course.
the change was implemented. The rollout was kind of rocky, but listen, most rollouts on anything are rocky.
Yeah.
Why? Because
Yeah.
change, and everybody
Yeah.
struggles with change. Is different. We got to adapt
Well,
to
and
it.
we're doing new things.
Yeah.
And anytime you do any new thing, you're not going to do it perfect.
Yeah.
Some of the main benefits and challenges that I'm hearing, I know we have one more strategy two more strategies.
Yeah, we're on 3.
Okay. The challenges are there's more isolation now, right? In that sense of those that may not have that work was more of their social connection.
Yeah.
So there is isolation there. It's impacting mental health in some ways because they feel the challenge of being disconnected from work. So you're kind of like on an island, isolated. Communication, you brought that up, and other safety concerns, but some of the benefits, you have that work-life harmony more, especially if you have more of a flexible idea around that. Companies have access to a broader talent pool because when you're hiring to a 9 to 5 is different than a flex schedule.
Yeah.
Now you've opened up to potential hires that you wouldn't have had access to before, which I think is a really interesting thing. And then just cost savings, to your point, like we don't need a huge facility, or maybe we don't have to have the utilities on all the time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, so there's some just real ROI to this,
Yeah.
but also the challenges, and ultimately a challenge doesn't need bravery.
Yeah.
A challenge needs a plan.
Yeah.
So yeah. Number 4,
this is where, when I think about the HR space, one of the things that I've been able to enjoy, again, with Lighthouse Research Advisors, getting into a lot of the tech space of HR. Number 4 is technology enablement, right? There's a lot of things that we can invest in. Companies and organizations have invested in necessary technology tools, and infrastructure to be able to support, effective collaboration and communication in, the flex work, the hybrid work environments.
Yeah.
And so taking an opportunity to really take advantage of those, which obviously we can talk about, include video conferences through that.
You just have to have a really strong
platform, project management tools that you can use. There's phases and ways to be able to communicate. We've learned those things over the last 3 years, how to adapt and get the resources that we need to do the job that we need to get done.
Yeah.
What does that look like in person? We can use some of those same tools. There's different tools you can still use, right?
Yeah.
God forbid another pandemic, or we go through another stretch, this COVID thing's ramping up again.
Yep.
What does that look like? How do we adapt, right? A lot of people were saying we're trying to Q4, we're going to phase back in. I would encourage everybody. This is just a personal George opinion. This has nothing to do with Ryan McCarty or Culture Good or Champion Culture, the podcast. Ryan's eyes are going to be, what the hell are you about to say? Listen, the worst time to make a change when it comes to workplace, we're about to go into holidays, man.
Yeah.
Like if my company said, hey, George, you got to be in the office. Oh, by the way, we're going to implement this in Q4. I'm knocking at your door. Right. That's another.
To your point, this is a good idea because it's September. We have September, October, November, December. We have like 3-4 months before the start of the year.
Yep.
Things are really busy right now.
Yep.
There are going to be times where, there are type industries where even before the pandemic, there was a different type of work schedule based on what quarter we're in, right? So if I'm in manufacturing or I'm in like pick, pack, and ship, you know what I'm saying? Like that type of infrastructure is going to require me during the fourth quarter with shipping and fulfillment and all that. I mean, I'm going to have, all my staff's going to have to be back in there. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. But that's expected things. What you're saying is let's not unexpectedly upend people's schedules right in the middle of the holiday season. Man.
I mean, there's a lot of stress during this time in this season, and we're talking about mental health and well-being. It seems like it's a yearly thing, but I know, like for me, one of the worst seasons for me personally that I struggle is during this season. This winter season, fall season is a struggle. A lot of it's tragic. A lot of it's family, personal struggles that happen during the season. And I'm reminded there's birthdays and holidays that are that have been impacted. Right. So there's a lot of sentimental issues for me that says, I'd rather be at home in peace and understanding that mentally I'm going to be checked out a lot come November, December, right?
Mhm.
That's just typical. That's the fight that I always have to fight. But also the stress of expectation of it's the last quarter of the year and work is expecting me to do this because we got to meet the goal. Like we got 3.5 months to meet the goal. The extra stress, and then on top of that, you want to change. I think for organizations that are out there, if you're listening today, I think some of the things that you could be changing right now is start going through the implementation phase. Infrastructure.
That's what it is now.
Start having that conversation.
I would say it this way: your company needs to pass an infrastructure bill.
Yeah, yeah.
like that's what it is, man.
Yeah,
you got to get the roadways right.
I love that.
Like the bridges need repaired.
Yeah.
Like the next 4 months, let's get things in place.
Mm-hmm.
The communication strategies, the tools, the tactics, the middle management. Start piloting, doing some A/B testing. This is a really great time right now to test some things out, but do so in a way where you're thoughtful about it.
Yeah.
You're not just throwing shit out there in the workplace and hoping that it sticks.
Yeah.
Like the age of that is over. We have to stop throwing spaghetti on a wall. We have to sit down with our people and talk plan, talk strategy, talk infrastructure. What needs to be in place for this to be successful?
Yeah. Number 5, you're going to
love it. I already do. I know.
Training and development.
Well, yeah,
right?
Of course,
it's what everybody needs. So offering training and development programs to equip managers, because one of the things that we don't think about most in organizations is how can my managers lead during change?
Yeah.
Because they're going to be communicators. The CEO is going to announce it. It's going to go through the email, and maybe not. Sometimes it won't even come through the CEO. Sometimes it just comes through HR, right? The added pressure. The HR is going to have to roll this out. An announcement. They're the bad person of the company because they're probably the one forcing it, when actually it was a collective idea from upper management. Right. On how we're going to do this, but there's always the one that's going to lead it through the change. Really, really training and developing your leaders and managers on how to effectively manage remote and hybrid flex, whatever it may be.
Yeah.
How to really communicate those changes, how we're going to roll this out in the phases, making sure they're prepared for the do's and don'ts, make sure they're prepared also for what's going to happen with their team, right? How to lead through this change and still retain your top talent,
stop
right?
Promoting people and start preparing people.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, the difference between preparing and promoting. There's so much power in that, right?
Oh, man, that's it.
Power in preparing versus promoting.
If we're going to be successful, regardless of what we choose, remote, flex, hybrid, even the traditional 9 to 5, if we're going to be successful in that, it's because of that very thing.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Preparation.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. When we have the time to do so.
Yeah.
Where we've seen this not work well is when you implement without a plan, or you implement without actual. I know I keep going back to this, but I'm like, man, what you're saying now in terms of development is like, we want people to be change ready. Yeah. We want our leaders to be change ready so that when change is happening, they're change ready.
Yeah. Not ready to change. Right? They're change ready, right?
They're change ready. Right? Yeah. They're ready to lead it.
Yeah.
They're ready to lead that change forward, and they know how to make their teams change ready.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Equipping them and preparing them. And this falls right in line with promotion and staffing across the board as we think about this scheduling. This conversation can continue to grow. I'm sure we're going to tap into it in the next few weeks, but it's good stuff, man.
Yeah. Hey, appreciate everybody as always joining us here on Champion Your Culture, the podcast sponsored by Culture Good. If you have any questions, if you have any challenges, if you need ideas, reach out to us, culturegood.com. You can go out there. You can actually schedule meet with Ryan, myself, both of us, or one of us. But we would love to connect with you in the future. Also, just remember, I wanted to bring this up as a reminder. We talked about it 2 weeks ago, but the culture diagnostic tool. Yes. If your company is looking to see, hey, where we are within our workplace culture, you can see it on the screen right now. You want to make sure you check out culturegood.com/culture-diagnostic. And you can check that out as well. Good stuff as well. Ryan, I appreciate you, man. It was great. I love this conversation. And again, I feel like we can continue to go on.
So who won the tug-of-war?
That is a challenge.
We'll say your team members should be winning that tug-of-war.
Yeah, the employee should always win, right?
Yeah.
We always had this rule in our retail is that the customer is not always right, but they have to feel like they won.
Yeah.
It may not always be right, but they need to walk out of that building feeling like they won.
Yeah, I do that. I feel like I won today, man.
I appreciate
Thank
that.
you.
I'm glad you had fun.
Appreciate you, man. We'll see you back next week on
Champion Your
Culture.
Hi, friends. Thanks for joining us on Champion Your Culture podcast today.
We're so excited that you're here and want to invite you to connect with us. You can watch the show weekly on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, or LinkedIn, and listen anywhere you get podcasts.
Subscribe today to get new relevant content each week on how to champion yourself and your team. Thanks again for listening to Champion